Hi everyone, it's Alicia here from Papercraft Secrets. I've had a request to make a set of cards using Kaiser Craft's new Whisper collection. So today I'm going to use the 6.5 inch paper pad and some of these craft cards and envelopes. I also have this set of stamps that came in my design team pack. It does come with the matching die cuts. So I'm going to try to incorporate some stamping into my cards. I'm going to be following this sketch that I designed myself, which is the January card sketch for our group Creating with Confidence, our Facebook group. And I thought I would have a go at using this particular sketch to make a set of 10 cards. I also have some wooden flourishes from this collection which I hope to incorporate. I have a packet of collectibles from the Whisper collection, and I have some honey paper blooms, and I think that one is a dusty pink. I'm also going to try to incorporate this ballet cardstock CD142 just to give the set of cards an extra colour. There is some rose gold in the paper pad, and I think that will blend in nicely with the ballet pink card. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a layer of the ballet cardstock that's going to sit on top of the craft card. To do that, I'm just going to cut my 12 by 12 sheet at 5 7/8 and 5 7/8. And then I'm going to cut along at 4 inches. So step 2 was to layer the ballet cardstock onto the craft card. Now we're up to choosing some papers from the paper pad. Each card is going to need 2 different papers. One for this side of the sketch and one for this side of the sketch. So just go through and choose your most favourite papers that you'd like to use. Here I've chosen 14 papers from the paper pad that I'm going to use, and some of them I'm going to have to double up on. We need to cut all of these papers to 5 5/8 inches so that it's going to measure on top, perfectly on top of the ballet pink card. The next step, now that we've cut all of the papers to 5 5/8 of an inch, is we're going to cut this green section here of the sketch. And we're going to do that at probably 2 inches. So you're going to have a 2-inch strip on that side of your card. Once you have glued those down with some double-sided tape on the left-hand side of your card, we are halfway through building up the sketch. We're now going to add another strip of paper on the other side of the card, which will be this white bit of the sketch. The measurements for the second piece is 2.5 inches wide and 5 5/8 inches long, and it's going to overlap the first layer here because you can see that the line is off center of the card. So we're going to cut 10 coordinating pieces at 2.5 inches in width and adhere them to the front of the cards. Your next step is to ink up the leaf stem in chocolate ink and stamp it twice on the paper join on the cards. Once you've done that to every card, we're going to change ink pads and we're going to change stamps. We're going to do exactly the same stamping on top of the first stamp, but slightly off center. Our next step is to stamp the rounded leaf stem with the cotton candy ink 4 times to fill the holes in the stamping design. Use a piece of paper to mask as needed. At the back of the paper pad there's a lot of sentiments, and I thought that these sentiments would fit really nicely with the sketch. There was only 8 in the pack, so I'm using these 2 from the collectibles so that they're all a circle shape, but you could easily use the square shapes. Sometimes when you pop out these little things from the back, you get these little flicky bits of paper on the edge, but if you just use your sanding block to just sand those off. I'm going to go around with one of the small Kaisercraft ink pads, which is bark, and just give a little bit of ink to the edges of these sentiments. Basically now I'm up to embellishing the cards. To do this, I like to spread all of the cards out in front of me so that I can distribute the collectibles evenly, because I don't want to use up all of the collectibles on 2 cards and then not have enough for the remaining 8. Now, you don't have to use collectibles for these cards. You could easily just put a sentiment on the middle of those and call it a card if you wanted to. You could just use stamping. But if you wanted to create a little bit more of a 3-dimensional look to the cards, well then you'd keep going with the layering and using different materials, but I don't want to cover up the stamping too much because we've done a lovely job on that. So I'm just going to have a little play with the collectibles and see if I can layer a few things up. I've just gone through and cut a little bit of cheesecloth for each of the cards. If you don't have cheesecloth, you can buy it at Spotlight in a little packet and you get a big roll of it like this. It's not very expensive and it's a really great thing to add to a card when you just want a little bit of texture but you don't want too much. Because I'm trying not to cover up my stamps too much, but not doing a great job of that, I'm just going to add a little bit of cheesecloth underneath the collectibles, which will just add a little bit of texture without covering up the design too much. Then I'm going to go through with my foam tape and I'm going to add the collectibles down with the foam tape for extra dimension. I just add a little bit of the Kaisercraft acid-free craft glue to a little spot in the middle of the card, and that secures the cheesecloth down. And then I'm going to layer the rest with the foam tape. Now you may not want every layer to have foam tape because that'll be too chunky, so alternate the layers a little bit so that some have the foam tape and others are just glued down. Then you can just play with the cheesecloth until you're happy with how it's sitting. And so just repeat that for every card. Your next step is to add a paper bloom or two to each of the cards with some glue. Once you have done that, we're just going to do a little bit of a sprinkle with some pink misting spray to just give a bit of a mixed media effect. The final step of the cards is to stamp your envelopes with one of the leaf designs and some chocolate ink. And that's created your 10 cards using Kaiser Crafts Whisper collection. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've tried to include some papercraft secrets into the video to make it easier if you would like to recreate the cards. You can go to my blog at www.papercraftsecrets.com.au and you can see the instructions and the step-by-step photographs. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love you to subscribe to my channel. My goal is to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of 2019, and I really could do with your help. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely crafty day.